What is up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Sparza, coming to you live right now. It is 1:18 Best Coast time. I'm very excited about today's guest, but before we do that, I want to remind you guys real quick, if you want to support our friends over at No Gi BJJ Gear, that's these folks over this way, buy yourself a nice rash guard like this one. Look at this. Hashtag Corona Weight Champ. Tell people that you're the best in the gym, because right now some gyms aren't operating, so nobody can tell you otherwise. What else can I tell you guys? Go support our friends over at dodgycollective.com. They always support us, and we support them, and especially when they support grapplers everywhere. Speaking of grappling, this weekend was a weird, let's meet two different worlds together. For example, I myself, I am not a wrestler. I didn't grow up with that. In fact, I am admittedly dumb on a number of things wrestling. But I will tell you, I'm not dumb enough to look at something that gets put on in front of me and say, wow, that's talent. Because when I watched this weekend, our guest today not only impressed me, but in getting to study a lot of his work, in getting to study the way that he wrestles, his approach to his craft, I thought it would be great for us here in the grappling world to get a little bit more knowledge of those in the wrestling world. So today we have a 2-time bronze medalist and the winner of the main event of this weekend's Wrestling Underground 1. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show for the very first time, Nick Gwiazdowski. Nick, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Very well, man. Pleasure to meet you. Where are you right now?
I'm currently I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, where I live, and I'm actually watching a college wrestling practice, which I commonly do and serve. Well, I wrestle with these guys too sometimes. With everything that's going on, we're kind of separated a little bit now, but I help these guys out a bit.
That's awesome. I have to ask, obviously, things being what they may, there's no season question mark. Are they just kind of like staying ready just to be ready? Like, what is going on in the world of wrestling? Because I hear so many conflicting things.
Yeah, so right now, college wrestling is just kind of starting. The competition season is not going to start until January. It normally starts in November. For myself, usually summer's filled with tournaments all over the world, and those have all been shut down. There's a World Championships that might happen in December, which would mean our trials will be in October, but it's looking like a very slim chance that those are even going to happen. So right now, like, everything's on hold. That's why when Wrestling Underground gave me a call for the first one, I said, let's do it. I haven't wrestled since March.
Didn't look that way. So that's good news for us when we watched you. You looked right back at it. You took to it. So how did this all come together? When did you get the call that Wrestling Underground was going to put on a spinoff event?
Chael's partner called me maybe beginning of August and asked if I wanted to wrestle Pyro Fortune. I said, yeah, let's do it. And then I asked Chael, I was like, tell me more about this, or, he told me a little bit more, and then the adversary changed, and I still went with it. So,
when did they tell you were going to be wrestling in a cage?
Right from the beginning, which I've really only taken a picture in a cage. So it was a little different, but if I look at the cage like I look at the out of bounds line in a regular freestyle wrestling match, you give a point if you go out of bounds. So I don't want to go near it. So, we spent a lot of time working on cutting our feet, staying in bounds, keeping the action in the center of the mat. So I wasn't too worried about it. I was, I could hold my ground well against the best in the world and stay in the middle. So I wasn't thinking I was going to get bullied into the cage and not being able to execute stuff.
That's fair. I mean, myself, a jiu-jitsu guy, I don't do a ton of cage work, but I have a lot of friends who are fighters. And the minute they put me up against the cage and start grinding me against that, I was like, why would anybody do this? This is the silliest thing in the world. This cage hurts way more than it's advertised.
Yeah, no, I definitely the night before, after weigh-ins, I wanted to see it, so I kind of ran my head into it in case, like, say, I took a shot into the cage. I was like, that fucking hurts. I won't be doing that.
And fortunately, things worked out well for you. I was also curious, had you ever seen the Submission Underground? Did that ever make its way to your radar?
I've definitely heard about it. I follow a lot of things Chael does. I've never watched one. I've seen some highlights. I follow him on Instagram and stuff like that. I've never watched one top to bottom. So, and my first time doing that too.
Were you paying attention earlier in the day to anything of the jiu-jitsu wise? I know the distance they usually have you guys come in and out and they kind of funnel you in and out, but did you get to catch any of the parts of the events that preceded you with Submission Underground?
No, I did not, because we showed up and they kept us in an outdoor area before we could go inside. No, I didn't watch any of it.
Fair enough.
It's a different. It's definitely a different culture between wrestling and jiu-jitsu people, and it's interesting because our sports are so similar, but it is definitely a different culture, I think.
I mean, there's similarities, but I know that when I try to do what you guys do, I feel like I have to give up all of my powers, like all of my little like tricks that I do, my guillotines, everything that I normally use. So I have an utmost respect for what it is that you guys do. Talk to me a little bit about your match, though, man. I mean, it was fascinating to watch, just as a spectator, for somebody who doesn't always watch. So, do you mind kind of narrating how it went in your perception?
Yeah. So, probably the best thing about it, right after the match, I didn't really know the way things went. I didn't know. I knew a couple things I did to get to my scores, but I didn't know everything. So, usually when that happens, it means I was in a good spot. I was running off my instincts. I was moving fast. I was executing things I've done thousands of times in practice. But then after watching it, I did a good job with my hand placement. My hands were in good spots. My feet were moving. They moved fast. When I did take shots to the guy's leg, they were up and through him. All things that I really practice and coaches preach as like, this is what textbook things look like. I felt like I executed well on. I got a takedown. I got takedowns. I worked off the cage well. I was happy with how everything worked out, especially with, we've been training here out in Raleigh, but I haven't put on a single and competed in a while. But my strength felt phenomenal, which I have a gym in my house, so that makes sense. But everything just felt on, which was like awesome.
I've seen your strength and conditioning circuit, and wow. I mean, it's a lot, man. So a lot could be said about that. Was that what you ended up doing once we started getting a lot of gyms and places shut down? Is that where you ended up going? Did you end up taking off any time when we did have a little bit of shutdown?
Yeah. In April, I took some time off. Just kind of did, whatever I could do. I didn't just want to sit around the couch because that's never good. But I did some stuff, and then I picked it up to I was able to secure a sponsorship of Powerlift, weightlifting company, and they supplied me with a bar and weights. As you know, it's super hard to come by nowadays with those things. A bar, weights, and now I have a rack and a platform and a bench. So I'm super grateful for them to basically put a weight room in my garage. And staying on top of my strength and conditioning is a huge part of my wrestling too. So you can know all these things, but if you don't have the conditioning and the strength to execute them, it's difficult. It's not impossible. I do think the wrestling side of things is more important than the strength and conditioning side, but they kind of run hand in hand. When you look at the best guys in the world, they don't get tired, they're strong, they execute fast, all those things. So, and then wrestling wise, we've been wrestling out here and working on some new techniques, some things I was able to execute, and some mistakes that I have made in the past that I didn't really make that night. So it was good.
That's awesome. Talk to me a little bit about the way the event ran. Did you like that kind of event? Because one of the things I have to fully admit as a jiu-jitsu guy is I get jealous when I see you guys have these outdoor settings. I see you guys practically with like these epic entrances that feel like real fights. Us in jiu-jitsu, half the time it's like, and here's this guy.
Yeah, so it was a little bit different. As with the awesome venues, I'll say that happens once a year. That's the Beat the Streets promotion. Not the Beat the Streets promotion. Beat the Streets organization ran out of New York City, LA, Chicago. It's an organization to get inner city kids wrestling and get them off the streets and get them in the mat rooms. So you do one big fundraiser a year. And those events have been in Madison Square Garden Theater. I wrestled in Times Square. I wrestled on a building overlooking the Brooklyn Bridge. 6 spots. And they have some awesome people on their committees that make those things possible. So those are where the really cool things happen. A lot of our wrestling, when you see the sick walkouts, that's college stuff, man. That's college or maybe the world championships. At the world championships, yeah, but a lot of times it's 5,000 person arena with 1,200 people in it, and half the people there are wrestlers and coaches from all around the world, and you just kind of stand mat side. When you're up, you go out there. So you guys see the cool looking stuff. The day in and day out stuff is not glorious at all.
I mean, I understand that, but I don't know if you've ever seen, but we have our ADCC Worlds, which is kind of our mini Olympics that we've got. And I want to say a few years in the past when they had them in like Beijing and even like a different destination, I want to say Finland, we had like 30 people in the stands. And I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine having your most epic thing. Now they're starting to make it an event. Now we got shit talkers like Gordon Ryan who stirs up energy. I just wonder, when you see all of these natural trash talkers talking from the jiu-jitsu side, I need the wrestling perspective. What do you think on your guys' side? Is it as silly as it sounds? Is there any interest to come do what we do?
I understand where it comes from. And to say I would consider myself friends with probably the biggest one of all time, Chael. You understand why they do it, and I don't think that it's wrong. I just don't take much value in it because I know the value comes from what happens when you step out there in competition, and those words, they're just words. I understand people want to see them because they love them or hate them, and they want to see them get their ass kicked or whatever it may be because they talk like that. So I'm completely fine with it. And it has interested me to do something like that, get into a jiu-jitsu match or something like that. I've rolled around with some guys before. My only concern is while I'm still wrestling, I don't want to get into something that a more experienced guy just fucking hurts me.
Right.
Something break, ligament, just something that fucks me up. So if it's something, where when I'm done wrestling, I learn more about it and do some competitions, then yeah, it's something I definitely, be interested in. But I don't want to compete against a high level guy when I still have wrestling goals to accomplish.
Well, I always think of it this way. Whenever, there's an event going on and there's one coming up where it essentially favors the jiu-jitsu guy, and I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, but I see that and I go, I'm excited to see the worlds cross. I just haven't seen a strong implementation that brings you guys and the excellence of what you do and our excellence of what we do together. It always feels like it favors one side more than the other.
Yeah, so like the two ones that come to mind, I watched Bo Nickel versus Gordon Ryan, right? And I watched Pat Downey versus Gordon Ryan. And both of them were like, one guy just wants to wrestle, and the other guy just wants to grapple, which makes sense, right? That's what they do. I'm not going to try to pull guard on you guys because that ain't my thing. So it's just a weird match to where, like, I don't know if the perfect rule set's out there. I don't know if it's something like I got no clue what the ideal thing would be. How do you score things? You score like I have no clue.
It's all right, man. I mean, we're still in the process of figuring it out. I just know that in the interim, I consider myself more of a trash talker than anybody. And when I see these guys do it, half the time I'm like, not even impressed, guys. We could do better. We can up it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's almost like if I went 5 minutes with a jiu-jitsu guy and he didn't submit me, like, is that a win? Right?
Yeah.
Or if I went with a jiu-jitsu guy and I couldn't take him down, like, I would say that's kind of a win on your part, right? Like,
yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what the kind of the barrier to determine a winner would be.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I look at it like this. I'm really up for new events right now, considering that there are so few for so many athletes. And so that's why I get excited to see you guys get avenues and opportunities for those next things. I guess the next question is, with that having taken place, what is next on your plate?
Man, what's next? I'm not really sure. There's a chance, but I don't think I'll wrestle in October because I don't think that'll be a World Team Trials. Right now, maybe another event like this. I think there'll be another Wrestling Underground too. Maybe something in there. Maybe a wrestling match with a different promoter, a different organization or something. But yeah, I'm not too sure. There's nothing on my calendar right now. But if someone came knocking with another wrestling match, I'd definitely consider it and pick up the phone.
At
It's
wrestling,
nice to make money and win matches.
I mean, absolutely. That's been my whole spiel this whole time is, those opportunities that get taken away from the athletes. We want to see you guys get back out there, compete, do what you do best. I will ask as a showman though, is there a little bit of hey, what do you get when you win this thing? Do they give you a medal? Do they give you like just a heads up? Because the jiu-jitsu guys all got medals. What did you guys get?
I got I don't know, probably like an 8x4 envelope with a check in it. And that's all I wanted. I got tons of medals, fucking trophies, anything else. You could keep them.
I mean, I was going to try an angle to see if we could get Uncle Chael to get you guys a belt. But you know what? If you're content with just the money that is in the little envelope, I'm fine doing that as well. That's
yeah.
fine.
In wrestling, they give you a ton of awards. I've been doing it for 22 years. I got tons of different awards. They're useless. Some of them I do enjoy. They bring back a lot of memories. But you could take them all. And it's like, as long as I have the memories and the feelings of like what I went through to achieve that, like that's like light years above anything. I bet you could ask any guy with a UFC belt, be like, what means the most of this is like the effort you put into that and the intensity and just the grit that it took to win it, not look at some shiny thing on his, around his waist.
So I used to compete in speech and debate, so I had like a million trophies from winning from that. And one day, somebody who I really respected told me, they were like, "Why do you need that still? Like, why do you have any of those trophies?" And I was like, "I don't know. My parents keep them. They put them all up." And they're like, "Throw them out." And I asked them, I was like, "Why would I do that?" And they go, "Because you're done with that." And I said, "Oh shit, you're right." And I remember just throwing all my stuff away one day, and I kept like the national titles that I won, but I just remembered being like, yeah, okay. I mean, that was really cool. Much like you take the memories and you go there. And I remembered reading that Georges St. Pierre said that he would give his belts to teammates that mattered. And I said, yeah, that's way more in line with what I actually believe in sports.
Yeah, I'm totally with that.
So I guess what I am saying is when you win one of your next ones or you're, an Olympic medal per se, maybe you just give that to me because you don't need it. So I'll just take that for you, man.
You're right, I wouldn't, but the Postal Service right now is really wishy-washy, and imagine if they can't do ballots right, imagine a fucking gold medal going through that. I can't risk that.
That's perfectly fair. I would ask you, since we have never gotten the chance to speak before, how did you get involved with wrestling? Where did that journey begin for you?
It started in first grade for me. I started at my local school, wrestling at the Pee Wee Youth Club. My neighbors that I was really good friends with, their dad was a coach and they wrestled. My brother didn't wrestle or anything, so we would fight a lot around the house. We're kind of ahead of the curve on MMA, just trying to kill each other in the living room. But that's how it started. I had some success and I enjoyed it a lot, so I just kept with it and still doing it.
When did you know that you wanted to make wrestling a career? Because one of the biggest aspects of wrestling is you can do it through college, but they don't necessarily go pro from there. So I always am curious, where do you know deep in your soul that this is something that you have a passion for, that you want to do more than just
through? After in college, after I won my first national championship, and I had some early success at the senior level. by placing at the World Team Trials and stuff like that, I was like, wow, I can compete with guys that do it for a living. So once that's clear, it's like, wow, I'm 20 years old and I can compete with a guy that does it for a living, then I can do it for a living when the time comes. It's a unique journey. I think that really the only people that have the opportunity to do it are the ones at the top of their career, like multiple-time All-Americans, multiple-time national champions. Those are the guys that you see doing it for a living. Like you look at that card that I wrestled the other day, everyone on that card was a multiple-time All-American, national champions. Like, it's just what it is. Like you can't get to elite wrestling without doing it in college, unless you're Henry Cejudo or Aaron Pico.
Not bad people to follow. I would ask this as well, which is what, in your opinion, is what took you from being a competitive grappler to a world's bronze medalist? Is there something in the mentality? Is it something in the training? Is it a mix of those things? Like, what do you think was your biggest asset to getting you there?
I think it's just at least for myself, I think it's been a belief as I've accomplished more and more. It's like I have more that I can do. I can do better than what I just did. And it's not like I'm not satisfied with those things. It's like I have more skills I can tap into. That loss wasn't that far from turning to a W. And whether it's foolishness or whatever you want to call it, like I can lose matches and be like, I wasn't far off from winning that though. If I make this, change that, that's a W. And I think if you look at things like that throughout your career, rather than being like, oh, I can never do this, it's too far away, then I think you have something special in yourself to improve yourself and bring a different version of yourself every time you compete.
What do you say now, having looked back, in terms of looking at 2 bronze medals? Like, what are you telling those guys? Are you telling them that, or do you have a specialized form of training that you do per individual? Because I've coached people and I've always had to adapt my strategy to the individual, but have you been able to give that kind of same energy to them, or have you given them different advice?
I think I give a lot of the same advice. I'll give you a heads up though. I'm getting really low though. I'm on less than 10%, but I'll get through this. And if we have to do this another day, I'd love to. I think some of the same advice I give that I learned myself, I've heard from other people. Some of it's things that, this kid's different than this kid and it's different from me, so I need to adjust what I'm saying to them. But also, I think a huge part is seeing it, right? I can wrestle with this kid who's 19 years old, and they can be like, this guy's one of the best in the world. It's real. Like, this guy's, not that he's real. He's a human. Like, I think once you see things, at least for me, once I saw things, I'm like, wow, this is real. This is what a world medalist is like. This is what NCAA champion is like. That's kind of possible. It is possible. It's not, just when you see on Instagram and, your wrestling publications. This is very real. This guy's a human just like me. So I think once you understand that and believe that, I think you're on a very good road.
It's a good area to go ahead and start wrapping it up. I do not want your cell battery to die. I would love to continue this conversation with you at a different time. But in the meantime, I do want to tell people the Span has 2 different instructionals over on BJJ Fanatics. You can get them with the 30, I believe it's % off over the weekend for Memorial Day. How to shoot and score in any weight class. Okay.
That's the one I would most suggest for competitors of any type, wrestling and jiu-jitsu guys, grapplers, fighters, whatever you guys want to call yourselves. I go over a lot of different simple ways to get to the guy's legs, whether you want to hit a knee or whether you don't want to hit a knee. Especially for bigger guys too, because bigger guys are usually like, oh, I can't shoot, I don't want to get on this other fat guy. I do it for a living. There's ways to do it, and there's ways not to, hurt yourself. That one I've gotten a lot of good feedback on. The other one's a little wrestling based, but in terms of movements, controls, there's things that I've seen in jiu-jitsu that's like, that works good in wrestling. That's a tight, fucking uncomfortable hold that's legal in wrestling that can be put to use. So I think there's things that do overlap. And so that might be something there for you guys too.
Well, that one is called Winning Mat Wrestling. You guys should definitely get either one of those. I will ask you, I would never ask this for other people, but is there a money back guarantee? Because I feel like the ship has sailed for me on wrestling. So I learn it and I train it with my friends, but yikes.
There's no money back guarantee, but I will say if you guys get one of those and have questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram or Twitter. I look at them. I'm more than happy to help guys out. I've done it multiple times. This guy from Denmark, to the point he's actually sent me a couple of his practice goes, and I've given critiques and stuff like that. So if I can help you guys get better too, I'm all for it. I appreciate the support you guys give me.
Well, that's pretty sick. Nick, I appreciate your time right now. I know you're low on cell energy, but I will keep an invitation over because there's a lot more I'd love to chat with you about. But
dude, let's do it. Let's do it sometime next week or something.
Okay, that sounds great, man.
I always enjoy talking to people outside of wrestling because the wrestling stuff just gets boring to me. This is something different, something new.
I won't talk shit about other wrestlers, but I will talk shit about other wrestling podcasts, and they're not better than me. So I will 100% put that out there. But I got to tell you, man, I think you have a bright future continuing on. I think that you have an exciting style, and I could see why they put you there. And as somebody who was just coming into it cold, I wanted to pay my due respect because I think there's so much we can learn from each other, and you definitely put out a good display. And I thank you very much for giving us a great show over the weekend, man.
You got it. Thanks for having me on here. We'll do this again.
Sounds good, Nick. You have a great rest of your day, sir.
All right.
Thanks. All right, you ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. My thanks to one Senor Nick Gwiazdowski. I appreciate his time. My thanks to you guys for tuning in. He's a good kid. I like the way he's coming in. That's a really nice offer. I'm just going to go ahead and repeat it here for you guys, just in case you didn't see. Winning Mat Wrestling. And you know what? I think he might have made convincing here. How to shoot and score at any weight class. I'll tell you this much. He'll definitely get a DM from me if I can't do any of these. And the likelihood of that is very high. Anyway, here's what I'm going to tell you guys. We may or may not do a fight companion tomorrow. We'll see what mood I'm in. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. We have had a phenomenal week. Yesterday, John Salter. Day before that, somebody else. We've had continuous peoples, Chase Davis. Day before that, we have shows every day, so you can't expect me to remember every single one of them. But we have had some incredible shows. I want to thank everybody. Quentin Rosenzweig on Tuesday, and on Monday it was Kai and Kai Kamaka from the UFC. See, it's all there. Man, woman, person, TV. See, all cognitive skills that are still there. My name is Rafa Marza. It has been a blast talking with you guys. Give some love to our friends over at No Gi BJJ Gear. Use the promotional code GrapplingHour15. Take 15% off whatever you put in the cart. And also thanks to our friends over at Dodgy Collective. That's going to do it for us here today. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.